And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big Sean McCarthy.
A midweek edition of the Weighing In podcast is now in session. We are together. It's so good to see you. Josh Thompson, John McCarthy, and we get to talk about MMA. I think I'm going to keep rolling here because I like talking and you not talking. This is the way to do this. What's up, brother?
Man, it's so nice. It's so nice. We're stacked, man. We're stacked this week. We've got a good cards coming up. You know, Bellator's got the champ status going on for the vacant middleweight title. Gegard Mousasi fighting Douglas Lima, who's coming up in weight, who's kind of wiped out the whole division of 170. I don't know, man. I don't know. This fight makes me nervous for Douglas Lima only because he's so good. You know, this is the thing. Look, you need sometimes promotions to look out after you.
You think?
And this is one of those fights where I'm like, man, I wish we wouldn't have him do this because Gegard's the guy that just never gets the publicity and the hype that he deserves. But he's probably one of the toughest guys out there who has fought the who's who of the sport. I mean, I'm talking Mark Hunt, knocked out Mark Hunt. He's fought he's fought Jacare, he's fought Machida, he's fought all these other guys. But he never gets the respect. You want to know why? Because he's not a vocal guy.
No.
He's a Fedor Emelianenko, but in a smaller body and widhout the roll. Okay, but
I was going to say, no.
Yeah, no spare tire.
Yes, got it.
But I mean,
he
has that kind of personality when he's in the cage or in a ring or wherever he's fought. He's fought in Pride. He's fought all around the world. He's fought the heavyweights. He's the 205 champion from Strikeforce. He was a number 3, number 4 guy in the UFC before he left and came to Bellator.
He was on a 5-fight win streak when he left.
When he left Bellator from the UFC, he was on a 5-fight win streak, like you said. He became champion at middleweight in the UFC or in Bellator.
Yep.
And then he dismantled Cavallo.
Yeah.
And he just took him down systematically, just walked right through him.
Yep.
Hot knife through butter. And I have said this from the beginning. I feel like that's his way to success against Douglas Lima. No different than what he did to Rory McDonald. And we've seen the fight between Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima, how close it was.
Twice.
I don't like it. When we talked to Gegard this week, I said, I go, what is it with these little guys thinking they can beat you? Like, I don't know. And Douglas Lima's a big 170 pounder. Let's say that. By the time they step in the cage, they will probably only be about 4 to 5 pounds difference in there when they step. Gegard's already said, he's like, I'm about 205, 204, 205, and then he said he'll probably fight around 203. Douglas Lima said he's been training around 197, 198, somewhere in there. He'll probably come in 197, 198, around that. He's like, I don't want to put any more weight on that. I don't need to. And that makes they're only going to be about 4 to 5 pounds difference when they get in the cage, John.
You got to tell me, what is it about Gegard Mousasi that people look at a guy who is 46-7 in his career, 46-7-2? What is it they see that they look at him and go, oh, I can beat him. He's easy. This is going to be an easy fight. He has beaten everyone. If you take a look at his career, 5-time world champion. We're talking about he was the deep champion. He was the dream middleweight and light heavyweight champion. He was the Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. He won the Bellator middleweight title. In the UFC, people say whatever they want. As far as UFC fighters, people that fought in the UFC, I believe he had 19 or 20 wins, 3 losses. This guy has beaten everyone. He beat the ex-champion in Chris Weidman. Jacare knocked him out. Then he lost, I believe he lost a decision to him. He lost to Uriah Hall when he was dominating Uriah Hall. Got hit with a shot. Can happen to anyone. Then came back and just destroyed Uriah because he's that guy that he's had so many fights. He doesn't get up for anything. It's just like this is another day at the office. And that's the one thing you got to worry about. We kind of saw that when he lost his title with Lovato Jr. He came out and he looked lackluster, and Lovato was eating him up, and then he turned it around, and in the 3rd round, he really came on. 4th round really came on, and Lovato was able to pull out that 5th round and take the title from him. But what is it about welterweights that think that this is going to be the fight I want? Rory McDonald tried it. Now Douglas Lima is going to try it. And I think Douglas carries more power than Rory. I think that is a big equalizer here in this fight. But Gegard Mousasi is an assassin. This guy kills everybody. You don't get a record like he has and not think this guy is one of the best that has ever done it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that look at him and just, I think because of the way he carries himself, he doesn't talk trash.
No.
He's not on social media talking about how he's going to beat people up and how he's going to take their time. He doesn't do that. He just keeps to himself, goes out there and fights. Now, the one knock that I will give on him, and I've known for a long time, is that he's a fighter that rises to the occasion of the opponent.
Fights to the level of the opponent.
Fights to the level of whoever it is he's fighting. And we saw that back in the Dream days when he basically was fighting guys at the heavyweight and the 205, and like he was in Strikeforce as well. If he thought you were a real threat to him, you saw someone that came in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like, I'm going to prove that you don't belong here with me. But the guys that you had seen, like, oh man, he's going to walk right through this guy, he ends up struggling with. It's like a little bit of that. Like
Alexander Shlemenko.
Yes.
When he first came to Bellator. Take a look at that fight. But he did, Alexander landed a shot in the very beginning of the round, broke his orbital. Yeah. And so he changed his entire game plan of what he was going to do. But I can tell you, in being in the cage with him, I never forget the fight he had, and I really loved Babalu. Hanato Sobral was a good fighter and had a great ground game.
Yeah.
Okay, people don't give him credit for it. And I was amazed at Gegard Mousasi in that fight because, Josh, if you had a heart rate monitor on him, his heart rate in that fight never got above 80 beats per minute. Yeah. He was just so relaxed and just eating Babalu up. And I was like, how in the hell are you doing this and not even exerting any energy? It was mystifying to me as I was watching because he was so relaxed, so calm, never broke a sweat. He's that good when he wants to show you what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, he is. He really is that good. He just got to get that out of his head that, like, hey, this is going to be an easy fight. He made it look easy against Roy McDonald because it was. Roy just didn't have the power that made him threaten.
He also didn't have the speed, which is unusual when you take a welterweight and he's going up in weight. You think that he's going to have the speed advantage against the middleweight. Wasn't even close.
But with relaxation comes speed. That's what people don't realize. The more relaxed you are in a fight, which Gegard has no problem being, is relaxed. Is the more relaxed you are, the speed comes more naturally. You can tell when guys get amped up and worked up, they force everything. And the more you force it, the easier it is to see, and the speed's not there. And there's so many things that go into being a fighter that people don't realize. That is one of them. You need to stay relaxed. Things come a little bit more fluidly through your body, and the transition from your hip to your punch comes out fluidly, and it's a little bit faster. The guys that load up, and it's just more telegraphed, and you see it coming. Look, the one thing, though, is I was trying to talk to Gegard during the fighter meetings, and I just said, like, why? What makes this fight motivational to you? And realistically, he's just like, well, Lima's a different animal than what Rory was. I got to respect his power. I got to respect his kicks, and he said, like, after I checked 2 or 3 of them, he's like, he won't kick me anymore. And that may be true.
Maybe.
That may be true.
That also might not be
true. He could also be damaging, depending if he gets it there fast enough. And we've seen that calf kick has changed all sorts of people's stand-up games. And Gegard's never really had an issue with being on the feet with with hardly anyone. And so it just comes down to the fact that, can Lima get to his chin or his leg often enough to make him respect him to where Gegard has to fight a different type of fight? And let's just be real. It doesn't matter. He's going to try to take Lima down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the weakness is Lima's grappling. It's just not. It's not what his stand-up is. Yeah. And I think Lima knows that, and Lima also knows that Gegard fights a smart fight. When he fought Cavallo, he said, "Why am I going to stand with you?" And Cavallo is enormous. Cavallo is what, 6'1"?
6'3".
Yeah, 6'3".
6'3".
Okay, I was 6'1", 6'2", somewhere in there. Big, tall guy.
Yeah.
Gegard took him down, finished him in what?
1 round.
Yeah, in the first round. I want to say it was like 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
Something like that, 2 or 3 minutes in. Anyways, I see something like that happening here. We saw the same thing with Roy McDonald. Once he got into the ground, it's just a completely different level. And if you look at what Lovato Jr. had to say about Gegard's grappling, he said, that to me is everything. Lovato Jr. is probably the best grappler, MMA grappler on the face of the earth. I mean, I've got Damian Maia in there as well.
Damian Maia is right there. But
He's right there with
if
him.
you're looking right now, they went in a jiu-jitsu competition. Lovato Jr.
Size has something to do with that.
Well, of course it does. But Damian used to fight 185 too.
Yes, that's true.
So if they were in a jiu-jitsu competition today, Lovato Jr. wins that. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Sorry. But you take a look at what Gegard was able to do with Lovato.
Yeah.
And then what we talked to Rafael about it, and he said, man, that guy is so much better on the ground than I gave him credit for.
Yep.
I knew he was good. He's way better than I ever thought. And you're talking about a guy, it's just so much in difference of levels. Douglas Lima is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No doubt he knows what he's doing, and he's good down there. But there's that difference of black belt and then competition level guy and then world class.
Yep.
And Lovato is world class. And when he's giving props to somebody in the way that he was giving to Gegard Mousasi about his ground game and the difficulties he was giving Lovato in trying to get positions at time or to finish him, there was just never that ability. Yeah. It says a lot about what he's facing, if Lima gets to the ground with him.
Yeah. So when talking with Lovato Jr., what he said about Gegard is that, look, he said, sure, I was able to get his back. Sure, I was able to get the mount. He's like, but I knew that if I tried to go for a transition to something else, he's like, he would have been gone.
I was going to lose it.
He's like, and I was not trying to lose that position with 3 minutes left in the first round or 2 minutes left in the second round. As I'm getting a little bit more tired, as it's a little bit harder to hold position, as I'm getting a little sweatier. There's a lot of things that come into play when we're talking about this. And so Gegard is that good. But like I said, the knock on him is he rises to the occasion of his opponent.
He does.
And Lima, being as good as he is, a guy who has fought guys and knocked guys out of the heavyweight division, became 205 champion in Strikeforce, was ranked in the 185-pound division, became a 185-pound champion here in Bellator. I just don't think he looks at 70-pounders and goes, I'm not concerned. And that's what scares me a little bit because Lima took this fight for real.
Oh, yeah.
He took this is his legacy of like, hey, if I go up, I can't look like Rory did against him where he just got smashed.
Well, Lima also said, I couldn't have had a better training camp.
Yeah.
With everything going on in the world and the COVID and all that stuff, for a guy to say, I couldn't have had a better training camp. Everything went good. I'm healthy, feel strong, lifting weights. I was doing a lot to get a little bit stronger in my upper body, my legs. He looks great. Take a look at him, man. He's obviously he's got a huge frame anyway, so carrying the extra 15 pounds, it's nothing to him.
Well, Gegard said he also, on the flip side, Gegard said that he had a harder time getting training partners. He had a harder time being able to train because they were kind of shut down a little bit more often than they are here in the States.
Yeah.
And so there's that being said. And the two of them together in that cage, I think stylistically it matches up very well. I just think that the experience of Gegard of fighting the bigger guys and handling the bigger guys, because the speed factor won't be there as well like it wasn't with Rory. I don't think it's going to be a factor with Lima. I think Gegard maybe even he'll end up being the faster guy. It's going to be a good fight, but the ground definitely goes to Gegard.
No doubt.
There's no doubt. The wrestling, I think, goes to Gegard. No doubt.
Defensive wrestling, Lima's good. This is one of the things I always remember. Brian Stan talking about having to work out with Douglas Lima. And he was always talking about, and I was so pissed off. I was a light heavyweight fighter, and then I was a middleweight fighter, and I was bigger than him, and I was stronger than him. And I could never get that son of a bitch to the ground. Every time that I tried to get him down, he says, I'd work my ass off, and he would, if I finally ever got him, he would hit the ground, boink, and right back to his feet. He goes, it was the most frustrating thing in the world. So you take a look. We do know, especially because Koreshkov is a guy big and has got really good wrestling. He is a good takedown. And in his last fight against Lima has changed that level of his wrestling defense where it's damn good now. He is a guy you've got to work hard to get down. Not saying that Gegard can't do it, but it's not gonna come easy.
All right, let's talk predictions, man. I mean, for me, prediction is that I don't think Gegard gets out of. I don't think Lima gets out of the second round.
Well, it's one of those. It really depends on can Lima go out there and establish that low calf kick, and can he make Gegard respect him with his power. If Gegard can walk through his power, like when he was fighting Rory, he started to just walk through. We saw what walking through power does when you watch Khabib against Justin Gaethje. When a guy has no respect for you being able to hurt him, it makes your life, incredibly difficult because not that you can't, but he's not respecting it. So everything that you're doing seems to be you're running backwards, and he's pressing forward and he's going to put pressure on you. So it really does matter. Is he going to be able to make Gegard respect him? And I think that's a tough thing for a welterweight to do. I look at it and I think this is Mousasi's fight to win. And if Lima wins it, he's proving something incredible, in my opinion. He's taken on one of the toughest fights, style-wise and person-wise, that he could ever face.
You never said who's going to win. Trying to sidestep the issue.
I don't think we should. When we call the fights, I'm just going to let it go.
I know. Look,
the fans are going to win. That's who wins in this one.
Should be a good fight. Look, there's a lot of, and I'm not going to get too much into the whole card of Bellator, okay? But I do. There are a couple under.
I like the co-main.
So the co-main is good. Talk to me.
Oh, come on, Brandon Gertz against Henry Corrales. One of my favorite fights that I ever did in MMA. People talk about, what's your favorite fight? One of my favorite fights was Brandon Gertz against Derek Campos. Two guys that like to come to the center and just start winging shots. And I think that's what you are going to see with Henry Corrales against Brandon Gertz. I think they're going to go to the center of that cage, and one's going to set his feet, the other's going to do the same, and they're going to start winging shots on each other, trying to get rid of each other. Brandon Gertz looks fantastic at 145. He was always a smaller, lightweight, coming in somewhere, 162 pounds or so the night of the fight. You can, if you look at him frame-wise, I think, Corrales is even a little bigger frame-wise than Brandon, but I think 145 is a perfect weight. And we know Henry Corrales, I used to do Henry's fights when he was on King of the Cage, and it's where I first really recognized who he was as a fighter. And he had this, he would just walk guys down and sling leather. That's what Brandon Gertz does. And Brandon comes from a wrestling background. He will not wrestle in this. And if he does, he doesn't wrestle to get on top of you and to try to ground and pound you. He wrestles you to pick you up, elevate you, slam you down, then go after big shots. And if he can finish you that way, if not, if you get up, he doesn't care. He's right back into his stand-up. So I think that's going to be fight of the night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Dalton Rasta fight and Gorder fight.
Ty Gorder, yeah.
Ty Gorder. That fight should be a fun fight. This is a huge step up in competition for Dalton Rasta.
Hercules.
Yeah, he's built like a Greek god. Looks the part, fights the part. He does tend to slow down as the fight goes on. Ty Gorder does tend to keep the steady pace throughout the fight. Ty is also there to get hit.
Yeah.
But Ty's no slouch on his back either. He's not bad.
Yeah.
So the two of them make for a great fight. The Eblin fight as well.
Dude.
That should be a good fight.
Taylor Johnson against Johnny Eblin, man. Both really good wrestlers. Both. I want to say Eblin is 6-0, and I think Taylor 6-1. Won his Bellator debut against Ed Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Locked in a beautiful heel hook on him. First round finish. He's got a very good leg lock game that came from being down in San Diego with Dean Lister and Jocko Willink and them. So wrestling wise, I think Eblin has a little bit of the advantage, but I don't think it's really going to be there. It's going to be, can Eblin keep it on the feet and try to use the stand-up game that he's learning from ATT right now, working out with guys and that's the difference in the Dalton Rasta fight. Dalton Rasta is now down at ATT. He's got a lot of guys that he can work out with. I think it's going to be a difference in his ability to maintain in the fight. But Eblin against Taylor Johnson is going to be an incredible fight. That's a toss-up.
Yeah. There's a lot of good fights on the undercard, so if you guys get a chance, check it out on the undercard. Also, too, we started, I think, an hour earlier for this event.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started an hour earlier. It's on CBS Sports. Go ahead and check out the Bellator fights. It'll be a good card. Also, go to mybookie.ag or mybookie.com, type in the promo code weighing in, and they will double your guys' first initial deposit. So if you guys haven't done that yet, go there and do that. It'll go all the way up to $1,000. If you deposit $100, okay, they'll give you another $100, so you'll have $200 to spend. If you go all the way up to $1,000, if you deposit $1,000, Okay, they'll give you another $1,000 to spend. So you have $2,000 to spend on there.
That does not mean that you can deposit 1,000, get 1,000, and think you're going to take it right out. It's not going to work that way. You're going to have to bet.
So yeah, leave it in there for betting. Like I said, but you got to use the promo code weighing in, and they'll go ahead and double your first initial deposit. So that's our way of saying thank you for following us and watching our show. And MyBookie is also thanking you as well. So mybookie.ag, go there and do that. All right, let's get into the UFC. What do you think?
Man, it's a huge fight now. It's the consequences of this matchup for both guys. Santos coming off a very long layoff from injuries, his knees being bad, coming back, and you look at this fight, and I can go to a lot of different things. Gegard Mousasi being one of the guys. Go back to UFC 200 and watch Gegard Mousasi against Thiago Santos at 185, and Gegard wrecked him. Mm-hmm. Ran through him, took him to the ground, and showed the difference in their ground games by moving in on him, getting to dominant position, and just using a ground and pound that finished the fight. Well, if you're Glover Teixeira and you're looking at a way for you to win this fight,
Glover's good on the ground.
He's really good. I can tell you, Glover's pressure on the ground is incredible. When he's got position on top, he is so hard to move. He's got super heavy hips, and his submission game is solid. He's got a really tight arm triangle. He goes to these things really well. He sets it up well. His route to winning this fight is that wrestling that he has acquired. He's got good takedowns, good wrestling, and his ground game. If he goes into this fight wanting to stand up with Thiago Santos and keep this on the feet, I see Thiago Santos winning the fight. If Glover takes it to the ground, and he's just got to get himself out of the first round if it doesn't hit the ground. He's got to make it through that, and he's been getting hit with shots that are hurting him at times, but then he comes back. He did a great job against Anthony Smith, but Glover taking this fight to the ground is going to be the winner if that happens. If it doesn't, Thiago Santos is going to be the winner of the fight.
Yeah, I look back at the Anthony Smith fight, and I think to myself, he's got to do very similar to what he did there. Just take less shots in the first.
Less damage in the first.
Because Anthony Smith has got decent power. He's got good kicks. He's got all these things, right? But Thiago Santos is
He's got the same thing and more.
He's got more power.
That's exactly
That's the thing. He's got good. I don't know how his movement will be because he is coming off the knee surgeries. But I think all the things that we saw in that Anthony Smith fight should let you know that this should be a good fight, but Glover just needs to make sure that he keeps his defense a little bit more on point, for that first round. Because we saw, and I think with Thiago Santos, he won't get as tired as Anthony Smith did.
Thiago, in my opinion, Thiago is a fast twitch muscle fiber athlete. I thought he did really good with John Jones in his ability to control himself in the fight.
Two hurt knees.
Exactly. And I think, maybe that had something to do with, he didn't move as much as he normally does or tries to, but he's got power. You can go back and watch a couple of his fights. He had a fight against Steve Bossé, who came from Canada, he was an enforcer in the hockey leagues there, became very well known as the supreme enforcer there. And, Thiago Santos just starched Bossé, who has a good chin, who's a tough dude. He's got the ability to put anybody unconscious with one shot. When you got that power, if you're Glover, you got to respect it. You got to be careful of it. Glover needs to look for the opening to drop levels, get into him, take him either into the cage or onto that mat. And then from that point, he's got that ability to end the fight at any moment. Based upon he's got the superior ground game. Yeah, he does. With the speed factor and the explosive factor is going to play a huge part of this. It's going to be hard for him to get that takedown in the first round, maybe even in the second. And if Santos comes in at all in such good shape as he did against John Jones, it's going to be a hard fought fight for Glover Teixeira. And but I think this is one of those. We go back. It's almost like a throwback fight. A good stand-up guy with big power versus a good stand-up guy as well. Yeah. But somebody who's more superior in jiu-jitsu. At least the one thing that you saw, and I don't know why it didn't start off in the first round, but in the second round, Glover started using a lot more of that. He's got that rocking motion with his head movement and everything. And it came back in the second round, which kind of slowed what Anthony was able to do up a little bit. He needs to start out. Don't keep your head in that center line and make sure that you're creating, a difficult target for Santos, because he does have the power. If he lands one shot, it could be over quick.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I love you guys'
those
energy.
Are the two fights.
I love you guys' energy on that, but keep in mind that Anderson Silva fights Uriah Hall this weekend, and that fight's the following week. So I'm sure the UFC
next week, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure the UFC loves that you're promoting next week's fight as well. But
nice call.
But just want to remind you guys, we got a pretty stacked free card this weekend.
Is it?
Yep.
What other fights are on there?
Tell us what fights are with the
Uriah Hall and Anderson.
Yep. So there's that one main event. Co-main is Andre Fili and Bryce Mitchell. Then we get Kevin Holland and Makhmudmuradov, Greg Hardy and Maurice Greene, and then Bobby Green and Thiago Moises.
Hold on. We screwed up. Glover and Santos are a week away.
This is why we have podcast days. Podcast days like, hey, you guys are forgetting Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall this weekend.
You're right, we are.
Jeez, man.
God damn. When was the time that you would think that you would forget about Anderson Silva? That's pretty tough. That's pretty tough.
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. I mean, we'll talk more about it.
And this is his last fight.
I know. I think it's time.
It is time.
It's been time, though.
Do you think it's funny that they're bringing a guy that when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, and Dana said it back then, this was the next Anderson Silva in his mind. Uriah Hall was the guy that he was looking at, 185. He was going to be the next Anderson Silva. What has happened with that?
I think Uriah laid a couple eggs in the process.
Why?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Motivation, maybe reading his own headlines.
Really?
Things like that could happen. I don't know. You tell me, because you seem like you have a little insight.
No,
that maybe Josh Thompson doesn't have.
I really, I always look and and I always say it in a certain way that, I think God gives everybody something. And he absolutely gave Uriah Hall that physical ability. He gave him speed. He gave him quickness. He gave him an athletic ability that is just above the norm. And I think Uriah has then taken that and, he's honed it and created it, and smoothed it out to make it even better with his, the way he can throw kicks, how, the combinations he does. I think up here, smart guy, but doesn't truly believe in himself the way other guys sometimes believe in themselves. And we talk about confidence all the time. And if I'm going to look at one thing that I think is the difference maker for Uriah Hall, I love the guy. He is a super good person. He is a very intelligent man. He is a great athlete. He has got great technique and skills in MMA. But no one can make you believe except for you. You've got to believe in yourself. And I think that in some way, Uriah has never believed that he is a step ahead of the next guy. He's always worried about what could happen instead of making it happen. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's that confidence that I think that has, at times, it's come out. When he fought Gegard Mousasi the first time, and he was getting beat, but he landed that shot. In that moment, you can look and say, gain confidence. You just did that against one of the great fighters in MMA. But I think he looked at it and was like, oh, thank God. And instead of, I made that happen, it was like, oh, thank God, I luckily land that. And I changed the course. And then allows that fight to take place again, and then loses, and then there goes that confidence level again. And I really just look at it, if someone could create just the belief factor that Uriah could grab onto and say, yes, I am one of the best. I'm going to prove it to you tonight. I think he could be fantastic and just special because he's got that ability physically. He's just got to believe mentally that he's one of the best.
Yeah, but that's what happens in combat sports in general, is that we are different than other sports, is that we don't have a team to piggyback on, like if we're not having a good day. Like today, I dropped the football. Oh, today I fumbled the ball. Oh, today I didn't catch it. Today I didn't dunk it. Whatever it is, right? I don't even know. I go, but team sports, you can be put out. Somebody else can carry the weight for a little bit. You can be put back in, and maybe that'll help you a little bit. Who knows? Maybe you just need a little bit of a break. Whatever it is. But you have guys that can back you up. Okay, we're going to drift a little bit because you're getting burned on that far side, today. So I'm going to give you the safety to help you out. Fighting, they don't have that. You have your corners, and they're outside the cage, by the way. They're not in helping you. So there's the mental part of it is so important.
Yeah.
And it can go up and down within one round. It can go up and down within 1 minute of the fight.
Absolutely.
And so it really just comes down to whether you choose to believe in your abilities or not. And it's up to him. And there's nothing that you can say. There's nothing I'm going to say. There's nothing on this podcast we're going to say to Uriah Hall that he probably already hasn't been told by his coaches. And he will believe them probably a lot more than he'll believe us. Yeah. But the problem is if he doesn't believe in himself, it doesn't matter. And that's what it comes down to. There was plenty of times and several times where I've said this a couple of times, where I was being cornered by Javier Mendez and I was losing a fight. And it just didn't, whatever he was saying just wasn't triggering me. I couldn't get going. Bob came in, turned things around, and that's what happened. I ended up getting the win. Same thing had happened the other way. Sometimes Bob couldn't get through to me, and Javier came in, and it turned me around. And sometimes neither one of them could get through to me. Okay, and let me just tell you, it's all your fault. It's all the fighter's fault at the end of the day because it's you. It's you that's got to make that adjustment in there.
There's no doubt about that.
Bob told me there was a Bob Cook. He had told me a couple times, like when you go, I don't think there's a whole lot of lightweights that can go with you. But there was also times where I just didn't go. I just didn't pull the trigger. And Uriah, I think, sometimes has that. Yeah. Like when you get out there, you throw and punch, boom, 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 and you're landing. Like you just got to do it more often because your best defense is offense. Because a lot of people can't keep up with what you're doing. And Uriah's that guy, like you said.
Absolutely.
All the athleticism, all the abilities, all the intangibles, all those things. He's got them all. All he's got to do is just pull the trigger. And he pulls the trigger. That keeps people guessing. It keeps them on their stilts. Makes them feel like, they're like Bambi on ice. They don't know which way to go. And but that just comes with having the confidence to throw more and to do more in the cage. And if you don't have that, then it's going to be hard. You're going to end up what people knocked Benson so much for doing was it just skating by with decision victories. And that's going to piss people off as well. Then you don't develop a fan base. And I think with Anderson, it could catapult him into being like, hey, I used to look up to you. You're kind of an idol. I used to be compared to you. Even Dana White compared me to you. And
I agree.
It's a good exit strategy for Anderson as well as it's a good motivational strategy for Uriah Hall. There's a lot of good things that can come of that for the UFC by this matchmaking. I don't know. But for me, I look at it though also is that when you have the president of the UFC or you have any promoter, you explode onto the scene and they start comparing you to one of the greats. It's a lot to live up to right away.
It's a heavy package to shoulder.
And the other thing too is it's so much to read. There's so much that you can buy into and so much you can just go, yeah, I'm Anderson Silva. No, you're not. No, it doesn't work that way. And as much as we can all sit here and say we like Uriah Hall, the simple fact of the matter is if you want to be Anderson Silva, you got to beat Anderson Silva to replace him first. That's one. And two is go out there and prove it. Just go out there and prove it. You got all the tools. I mean, you got all the tools.
Got the tools. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think all he's got to do is just do what comes natural to him. Just pull the trigger. Have confidence in the fact that whatever you do, people will be like, oh, shit. Oh, I didn't expect that. Because that's really what it comes down to. Just letting your shit go. You've done it 1,000 times in the gym. Now do it in the cage.
Yeah.
Do it. So
I agree. It's the one thing that I've always looked at. I think he's got all the intangibles it takes to be that guy that can beat anybody. He's just got to believe in himself.
But John, we've seen this before with other top guys. Vitor Belfort. Everyone talking about how great he was.
That's actually who I compare Uriah Hall with because if you look, I say God gives everybody. Randy Couture. I look at Randy ended up fighting Vitor. 3 times, and the one time he lost in the, it was a cut due to a glove. But you look at that, and if Vitor had Randy beat physically everywhere, just stronger, faster, everything. Randy had him beat mentally.
Yeah.
Going into the fight, Vitor was at a deficit, and he had never been hit. He had never been touched. He had never hit the ground. He was at a deficit because he believed that Randy was a guy that he couldn't really beat.
Yeah.
And it was in his head, I thought. And it was just a matter of that when confidence is not there, there's nothing that's going to really happen that's going to be good for you. You've got to believe. And when you watch someone that is strong mentally, they cannot be as good physically, but they'll be in bad situations and they will be in predicaments that you go, oh, this could end the fight. And they work themselves out of it. And that, even though they're the ones that have accepted the damage, they're the ones that have been in trouble, they're the ones that are growing stronger, while the person who did all that damage and put all that trouble on them is now starting to falter based upon, holy Christ, that didn't stop him. He's still coming. And so, that mental strength, if once you attain it, you elevate yourself to another level. And that's what I would love to see Uriah Hall have, because if he got that, there's not a whole lot of guys that physically match up with him.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys that he can fight after this with a win. But I mean, beating how old is Anderson? 42?
Yeah.
Yeah, beating a 41, 42-year-old Anderson Silva.
45, actually.
I think 45. Sorry,
Holy
45.
crap,
45 years old, man. I didn't know Anderson was older than me. Holy cow.
Well, you got to figure, I think he was 31 when he first got into the UFC fighting Chris Lieben. He was 31 years old.
Wow.
So that was back,
2006.
Oh, no. Yeah. Right at 2005, 2006. Yeah.
Around there, yeah.
6, yeah.
I was there at that fight when he fought Lieben. I was there.
Yeah. So was I.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, Chael fought Trevor Prangley, I think, on that same card.
Yeah.
Anyways, look, that's going to be a good fight. I'm excited. You have the old guard kind of fighting the new guard, seeing if he can get the confidence to beat him. I honestly think Uriah walks through him. I think a couple touches on the chin. I think once he figures out Anderson's speed's not what it used to be.
I think that
we know his chin's not what it used to be.
Once he gains confidence.
Yeah, and so he's got to go out there and pull the trigger. And I think it'd be a short night for Anderson, to be honest.
You think Uriah ends him?
Yeah, I think Uriah finishes him. As long as he pulls the trigger. If we see a hesitant Uriah Hall, then I see a 3-round, maybe giving it to Anderson.
It's going to be a 5-round fight.
5-round fight. You're right.
5-round fight.
I'm gonna still give it to Uriah. I don't think Anderson gets outside the 3rd round. I think Uriah touches him, and if he's able to get him away, I think the speed's going to be such a factor. Anderson used to be the fastest guy.
Yep.
He's not the fastest guy anymore.
Nope.
I think Uriah.
And he's getting hit a lot.
Yeah, he's getting hit a lot more, and we've seen that his chin can't take those shots anymore, and it's just natural. That's what happens. 45 years old. Jeez, man. No thanks.
Just think of 3 years from now, you're still fighting. Oh, it's ugly.
Thanks, man. No thanks.
No thanks.
No thanks. All right, guys. So
Bryce Mitchell.
Yes.
Fighting Andre Feely.
Good fight.
Oh, what do you think?
Bryce is tough.
Dude, he's so good on the ground.
Bryce is tough.
He is so good on the ground.
Feely's good.
Feely is good. I like
fun.
Andre Feely, man. Coming
fun.
from Team Alpha Male, man, he's gotten better and better. What do you think?
I'm a local guy. I'm a local Bay Area guy.
Look at you. I knew you were going to go California.
I'm going to play a little homer and go with it. I'm
going
fan.
country boy.
I like Bryce Mitchell, though. I like him. I like watching him fight. I just haven't seen quite enough yet to say that he's going to be able to get past Feely.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, with Feely is I feel like he's gotten a lot better in his last 2 fights. He's just gotten a lot better. He's fighting. More
smart.
Fight IQ. Yeah. I was just about to say fight IQ, right? And to me, that's the most important part. No one ever doubted how good he was, in terms of his technique. He's got good technique. He does good stuff, but he just didn't fight smart, And now he's fighting smart and he's doing good things. And I also think that with all the drama that finally faded away from Alpha Male, he's still there doing his thing.
Why did the drama fade away?
I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But I think there was a lot of drama surrounding that time and that era with all the other stuff that's going on. Look, these are good now. I think with Alpha Male, they've got their niche of guys that are there. They're all happy. They're all working hard. They're all back to the grind. They're all getting better.
Yep.
And it's going to take. I think every gym has a rebuilding phase.
Shout out to Danny Castillo,
Yep.
Chris. You guys have been doing a fantastic job with your fighters there. So
Danny's a stud, man.
Oh, dude.
I see Danny at all the.
He's a great
Bellator
coach.
match. He's a good coach.
He's a really good coach, man.
Yeah.
He says smart things to his fighters. You listen to him. Chris Hollingsworth Great job of giving a little insight. Hey, I need you to do this on the takedown. Take your hands, switch them over. Little things you go, there you go, man. That's
it makes it, and people don't, I think when you get to the level of where they're at, it's just a little tweaks that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, that fighters need to hear. They don't need to hear, get up. No shit, motherfucker. No shit.
That's great coaching right
when
there.
I hear coaches yell, get up, I'm like, I just shake my head.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm so thankful you're never in my corner. You know? I mean, Bob has yelled at me like, yeah, hey, it's time for you to start working to get back to your feet. I'm like, okay, because there are times you'll find yourself just hanging out down there going, okay, I got 4 minutes left. Okay, I got plenty of time. And then like next thing you know, it's like 30 seconds. Like shit, I sat on my back the whole fucking round. Anyways, that should be a good fight. That should be a really good fight. I'm gonna lean towards Feely only because I'm a Bay Area.
You're a Cali homer.
A little bit of a homer.
That's all right.
A little bit of a homer.
It's okay.
But I mean, also I like his gains that he's made in his last couple of fights.
I agree with you.
And
He's
so
looked really good.
Bryce Mitchell, I think, sure has the advantage, I think, on the ground. But Feely's also got a lot better at stopping the takedowns.
Yes, he has.
You know, and then he's also fighting smarter at range and using his speed and his range to.
And his lateral movement has gotten so much better.
Not backing straight up makes a big difference when you're fighting someone who's good on the ground. So I'm going to lean towards Feely. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way, but I'm going to lean towards Feely.
It's a toss-up fight if you ask me.
So look, guys, you guys, we've already talked about it, is go to mybookie.ag, mybookie.com. Go there and use the promo code weighing in. Okay? Use the promo code weighing in. They will double your first initial deposit. $100 in gives you another $100. So you have $200 to spend. $1,000 in, give you another $1,000.
Hold it. We put in $500 each. Where are you sitting at?
Oh, I think I'm at like, I did another bet. I think I'm at 600 now.
Oh, you're at 600?
Yeah, I'm at 600.
I'm at 840.
I'm gonna have to look and see. I haven't bet since our last show, so I'm gonna bet. I'm gonna actually do some betting on this upcoming show as well. So look, go there. We have plenty of cards for you guys to bet on all the MMA stuff. They can also bet on the election.
Oh, you bet on everything.
Have fun with that, by the way. Okay, look, let's get into a little bit of Twitter drama. Let's get into the GOAT talk. I heard John Jones has a lot to say about Khabib not being the GOAT.
Boy, he's been active on that, hasn't he?
He's been pretty active on it. I'd like to get into all the details of what he said, but let's just be honest. I have said, and this is the one time, look, you guys all know I'm a homer for Khabib, but look, you guys can interchange GSP and Khabib all you want, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to knock GSP at all. If you guys want to put GSP as the GOAT, okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'm not going to knock it. I lean towards Khabib because I am a homer in that area. But when it comes down to the rest of the guys that are on that list and people want to include it, and look, and I'm going to even go a step further before I even bring up all the negative shit about other people. I want to talk about the positive stuff. The positive stuff is I think Henry Cejudo has a case to be in that conversation. Not to say a case, he's got a really good case. Yeah. And here's the thing. There's talk right now that he is talking with Dana White about fighting Volkanovski at 145. If he fights Volkanovski and wins that title, that automatically puts him as the GOAT. Over Khabib, over GSP, 3 titles.
And a gold medal.
I don't even know, what is it, the quad C? I don't even know how to say it. It would be insane. And look, I hope he gets that fight. I think he's got a good chance against Volkanovski to beat him. It's a really, really tough fight for him. You're going to have to see a really smart fight IQ out of him, which is what we saw against Marlon Moraes. When I get into this whole conversation about the two of them, right now, it's only GSP and Khabib at the top. And let me give you my point on it.
That's right.
With Henry Cejudo, they're like, oh, DJ deserves to be in that. No, Henry beat him during his prime. DJ never went up in weight. DJ had a lot of title defenses. I give him credit.
Automatically makes it to where Henry Cejudo has got it over DJ.
Yeah, it automatically makes it where Henry gets it over DJ. I love DJ. I think he was in that pound for pound for the top forever. I thought he was there. I thought he was the guy. But I also look at the level of competition. I look at the level of competition. The 125-pound class was not always the toughest. DJ also, when he did fight at 135, had lost there as well and didn't have success. And then he never went back up to even challenge himself, which I thought he should have. There was multiple times where he was fighting the same guys 2 and 3 times. He should have went up to at least challenge himself. He could have went back down. It's not like you were making a ton of money off of pay-per-view buys anyways, so it wouldn't have tarnished you anymore. You already knew they weren't going to have you headline shows anyways, so let's go ahead and just give it a try. Challenge yourself. I wanted to see DJ do that. He didn't do that. Henry did that, and that's why I put Henry above DJ. That's the only reason why.
It's a good reason.
Okay. I think Henry has the opportunity to go ahead and do it if he fights at 145. Like when he beat DJ, sure, he beat I think at the time was the pound for pound guy. At the time was the pound for pound greatest at the time, right? So he beats DJ. That does not catapult him into being the pound for pound guy anymore, or Henry.
Yeah.
But then when he goes up to 35 and wins a great fight there, and then he defended it as well, right?
Well, hold on. He first had DJ come down and challenge him at 125. DJ being the bantamweight champion.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Did I say DJ?
You
TJ.
said, yeah, TJ.
TJ Dillashaw.
So he beats TJ Dillashaw.
Yep.
Okay. Mind you, he beats TJ Dillashaw while TJ is on.
You're talking about
EPO.
Demetrius Johnson. I say DJ.
Yeah. TJ comes down and fights Henry Cejudo to challenge for the 125-pound title. He defends the title, beats TJ Dillashaw there.
Then goes up
to 135. Beats Marlon Moraes there for the title. He defended the title against one time, right? In 135.
Yeah.
Who did he fight?
Dominic Cruz.
Dominic Cruz.
Who beat
DJ?
There you go, at 135.
So look, there's all that conversation in that piece there. I put Henry number 3. I put GSP because GSP was the two division champion at 170 and as well as at 185. This is my logic behind that all is that him winning the 185-pound title after what, 3 years off?
Yep.
3 years off. He's just a class act on his own. I don't even want to get into what happens outside the cage because then that just totally just verifies what I'm saying. But let's just talk about in the cage. Okay? GSP, I want to see him in the Khabib fight. It will never happen. The conversation with everybody else already amongst the AKA camp and the Khabib camp as well as the GSP camp is like, let us both just ride off into the sunset.
That's
and
okay
I think
with
I'm
me.
okay, and I'm
That's
okay
okay
with
with
that.
me.
And I like this. Like this is very make believe, by the way. So whatever I say, I don't want you to think like this is definitely not in stone. And people should take it for what you want.
More like in butter.
Yeah, GSP is to me, like I said, is very interchangeable. Everyone's like, yeah, but he lost to Matt Serra. Yeah, but he also came back and he beat Matt Serra.
He also beat Matt Serra.
The next fight. It was the next fight, correct?
It wasn't his next fight, but I think it was Matt Serra's just a repeat because Matt got hurt.
Yeah, so then
I think
Serra, GSP fought somebody else in
fought
between.
Hughes, I think.
Okay, Matt Hughes. Okay, so the bottom line is he came back, got his title back, you said he beat Matt Hughes in between. I was trying to remember who that was. But then you turn around and you beat another legend in Matt Hughes just to get back to Matt Serra. Makes sense. That fight happens. He wins. All the fights that GSP has lost, he has.
I did his 2 losses.
Yeah. And
he lost to Matt Hughes, who he then beat twice.
Yep.
And then he lost to Serra at UFC 69 and then beat him at UFC 83.
And beat him the next time they faced each other.
And beat him convincingly.
Yes, he beat him very convincingly. So, look, that's why I put GSP at the top there. Then comes back and wins the 185-pound title against Michael Bisping, who at the time had beaten guys like Dan Henderson, who's a legend. He'd also beaten Luke Rockhold, who's a teammate of mine. And so I put GSP at the number. I put him at the number 2, and I put Khabib at the number 1 spot. Being undefeated, period. Okay? And in the toughest division in the whole sport. And his last 3 fights beating guys who everyone thought is just 2 or 3 of the best to ever do it. And then he's beaten Dustin Poirier. He's beaten Conor McGregor. He's beaten Justin Gaethje. But not only did he beat them, he submitted all 3 of them. And he did it all before the 5th round. Finished all of them.
Yep.
Had a great, dominating performance. You could say he gave away the round against Conor McGregor. And he's in the toughest division. Now, everyone wants to talk about, he fought Ali Quinto, his last-minute replacement. Like, he took that fight against someone who he'd never trained for.
Well, he took that fight first. He was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson.
Yes.
And then when Tony Ferguson tears up his knee, stepping on some cables, now it's going to be Max Holloway. And Max Holloway was the opponent coming in, and then Max can't make weight. Even though he's the 145-pound champion, he couldn't make weight at 155. They rule him out, and then they bring in Ali Quinto. Having your opponent change like that in a championship scenario is not good. Yeah. It's bad mentally. It doesn't allow you to get ready for someone. And, Ali Quinto, if you remember, he was on that fight card weighing in. He weighed in for his opponent and then came back and they showed that he could make championship weight because you have to be right on the nuts or below at 155. So that is as last minute as you can get, especially for a championship fight. You never hear that.
Well, you have to remember that was when he won the title, and so there's a lot of things going through your mind the very first time you ever fight for the title. It's against someone that you didn't prepare for at all. Three different opponent changes, but the third one you end up fighting. Actually, there was 4. There was talk of Pettis being another guy for him to fight, and then Pettis wanted more money, and they didn't want to pay more money because I think Pettis was on that same card against somebody else.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Pettis was on that same card against somebody else, and then it was Max Holloway. So there was a bunch of different opponents within a 5-day span or 6-day span that he was supposed to fight. So I actually tip my hat more to him because having to deal with that all week and have such a dominating performance in that Aliquita fight, and everyone's saying that he had a hard time in that fight. He didn't have a hard time. It was a good opportunity for him to work his stand-up, and also, too, to shoot on a shorter guy is a lot harder. Now we can get into the other talk. The other talk is Jon Jones, Anderson Silva.
Okay.
I'm sorry. They're not even in the conversation at all. Like, at all. You forfeit your conversation once you decide to be a PED cheat. And everyone says, oh, well, Jon was not relinquished, but vindicated from his cheating or what. I was like, no, he was not. He was not. And I'm sitting here with the man who had that was involved in a lot of the conversations of the commissions, USADA, and all the other people that were around, that will tell you, when you get tested for picograms, that means at some point you cheated for quite a while, and now it's coming out in your sweat glands when you make weight every single time. So that means that, look, all the fights that he had won, when Jon was on Twitter this week saying, I've defended the title 14 times? 15 times. Yeah, well, how many of those were before USADA came and you didn't get popped? So when you won the title, were you juicing? And here's the thing, even if he wasn't, you've already tested positive, which means that it's tainted, just like your piss. It's tainted, okay? Like whatever it is, you lost that credibility, and that's what sucks. And he had wrote a comment about it being a joke and this and that about Khabib being the GOAT. Fine, put GSP there. GSP can be there too, okay? But the thing is that the bottom line is you gave that up when you cheated. And the sad part is you didn't need to cheat because you are gifted as an athlete, okay? You didn't need to cheat. And you gave up that right to being considered the GOAT during that time. And no, AKA guys do not hate you. They hate the fact that you squandered it all away in doing that when you didn't need to. And then and I said this, I was telling other people this, I said, Jon, someone's got to sit here and tell you the truth, buddy. You got too many yes men around you. You fucked it up. That's it. Like I like you as a fighter. I love watching you fight. I admire everything you do. I do. I'm like, man, when you were doing shit in your earlier career, the spinning back elbows, you helped recreate how fighters fight in this sport. It's just sad that you fucked it up, and that's it. And as a person that I'm a huge fan of watching you fight. I'm not a huge fan of what you've done, but I'm a huge fan of watching you fight. I can be both. People need to understand that, as I can be both. Okay, I don't need to pick one side or the other. I support you as a fighter. I just don't support the actions that you've done to ruin your legacy. So that's why I put there's Khabib and GSP can be interchangeable, and both of them, I think the mutual respect between the two, they don't give a shit. Either one of them care. They both like each other a lot. They know each other personally. They train with each other personally. They both have common friends with Frankie Edgar, Ali, and a bunch of other people as well. So I think when we're having this conversation, Anderson also is in that same category of that he's tested hot a couple times. And how many times had he won titles or defended his title cheating until USADA came along? And so that's the only issue that I have. I feel the same way about Anderson Silva as that I feel about Jon Jones. He ruined it. Just ruined it. All the great things you did in the sport, you ruined. Okay, by cheating. GSP, I give it GSP and Khabib, or Khabib and GSP, and Henry is right there. And the only reason why I don't put Henry higher is because the 125-pound division was kind of a weaker division. And sure, he beat DJ, but the rest of the division, there wasn't a whole lot of people there. I give Henry the tip. If he goes to 45 and wins, you can't deny him. You can't deny he'd be the GOAT. There's no doubt. You can't deny it, Jon. As much as no.
Well,
talk to me, Goose.
Well, you sit there and you say you can't deny it. And you can't deny that he won more titles than anybody else as far as in different weight classes. He'd be the first guy to have 3 different titles in 3 different weight classes. So that is impressive. But is that more impressive than a guy that has never lost a fight?
Well, it's weird you say that because I always thought that what Kyle Dake did in wrestling by being a national champion in 4 different weight classes was better than what Chaos Anderson did in the same way, in the same division. Because you got to remember, in college, you're fighting the same guys.
Yeah.
You're wrestling the same guys for 4 years,
Over and over,
basically.
so they're getting an
sure,
idea
a couple
about
new
you,
guys.
too.
Yeah, but you understand how to beat them. And then they also, too, confidence is key in a combative sport like that. Once you beat them 1 or 2 times, you tech them, or once you pin them, or they start to, their confidence starts to, oh, man, if I fight that guy, he's going to do the same shit to me. You're kind of wrestling the same guys. With Kyle Dake, he always had to raise his bar. And those guys are like, man, I'm going to smash this young guy. I'm going to smash this small guy. This guy's coming up. He ain't going to beat me. So I look at what Henry's doing is like a lot more. It's a lot harder to do, I think. But DC disagrees with me when I talk to Dan Cormier about this as well. He's like, no, what Kale did. So yeah, because you had to wrestle Kale.
Well,
and that's why.
I was going to say, I know a guy that wrestled Kale multiple times and lost to him.
You're going to lean that way because you want Kale to be the GOAT because you lost him in the national championships. And
I look at, you can look at it either way. But when you talk about GOAT status, I look at it as who was the most dominant fighter. Not how many titles you won, not how many, divisions you were in. Who was the guy that every time he stepped inside that cage, even though many people now question, could this be the individual that turns this thing around on him? Every time dominated every fighter they basically put in front of him. Who's the guy that had that type of string against quality opponents time and time again? And that's where I come back and go, man, Khabib, when you look at what he has done in the entirety of his career, I couldn't think of any rounds that he ever lost. And I know that the judges in his Justin Gaethje fight, 2 of the judges gave the first round to Gaethje. And I'm just going to tell you, they were fucking wrong. There's no way that Justin Gaethje won that first round.
Tell me how you really feel, John.
I'm just fucking being honest, okay? This is a matter of you have got to look at what is effective in the round. And when you have Justin Gaethje, who in the beginning of the round, he was doing well and he was landing his kick, and he landed the kick a couple of times, actually took the balance out away from Khabib. He caught his balance, and he did that for the first 2 minutes. And then Khabib started to disrespect the power and started to walk through it. And you saw Justin Justin ate a lot of good shots.
Yeah.
There was the left hand of Khabib was landing successfully, and then the right hand was landing, and then the takedown. And is someone forgetting that he was actually setting him up at the end of that round in a submission hold? Be it if you want to call it the biceps life or the Barada plot or whatever you want to call, it was getting put on. It's just time runs out. Okay, who was the guy that actually had the chance of finishing the fight in that round? There was only one guy.
Yeah. So
it's simple. Khabib wins that round. So he didn't lose that round. He lost 1 round, I would say, and it was a close round against Conor, but it's a round that you can see that he took off. But I can't think of any other fight where I can say he lost that round.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, because I can watch George St. Pierre fight, and I know of fights that he lost. Okay. Sarah, knocked him silly in that fight that he had. Hughes armbarred him, and he tapped, to get out of the submission without it really even being put on hard. He was beat here.
It was a full.
He was beat here. He wasn't beat here.
Yeah.
So I look at that, and I love George St. I think he's phenomenal, but I can also go and look at a lot of rounds that he lost. He lost rounds against Carlos Condit. He definitely lost rounds against Johnny Hendricks. He lost rounds against a lot of guys. But he's a dominant fighter, but he didn't dominate every fighter that he competed against. John Jones, he's incredible. And I will never say anything bad about John when it comes to his fighting, he is absolutely remarkable. But he's done things that you look and you go, you've tainted yourself. You did it. Nobody else did it.
Yeah.
And I can look at fights and say, Alexander Gustafsson won rounds from you, no doubt about it. Thiago Santos won rounds from you. And there's people out there that actually believe he won the fight.
I thought Gus won the first fight. I thought obviously Gus lost the second one. But I had Gus winning. But I could see it going both ways in the first fight.
But, you get to Dominic Reyes, man. Look, I will tell you, that's the one fight. I didn't think that Gus won the first one, and I didn't think that Santos won. I thought John won. But the Dominic Reyes fight, I had Dominic Reyes winning the first 3 rounds. John definitely won the 4th and the 5th, but I don't, people go, oh, that's the championship rounds. No, it's a round.
Yeah.
Okay? It's no different than the first round or the 5th round. You need to win at least 3 of those or dominate so you get 10-8s or start to change it. And I can look at that and say, John is an amazing fighter, and I do not consider that he has a loss. He lost based upon a disqualification. It's on his record. I don't consider it really because the whole thing, if you're going to do anything, it should have been a no contest. But he hasn't dominated every fighter. And since USADA, since he has been caught, there has been a level change of people have caught him, and now he's having more trouble in some of those fights. That didn't happen with Khabib at any time. And that's where I look and say, man, the most dominant guy I've ever seen fighting in MMA every time he stepped into the cage was Nurmagomedov. He is the guy that has dominated every fighter that he's ever competed against. And you look at exactly what you said. His last 3 fights, since he got the title, he fights Conor McGregor. Why did they put him against Conor? They want that fight. Who do they want to be champion? Khabib? Not at that time.
Not at that time.
Conor. And, he takes Conor out 4th round. Dustin Poirier. I love Dustin as a fighter. Takes him out in the 3rd round. Justin Gaethje takes him out in the 2nd round. Submitted the very best lightweights that they could put against him. He's getting better.
Yeah,
he's the best.
That's kind of where I was at as well, and I look at it like as much as I like GSP, I have Khabib slightly ahead because I did take into consideration the utter dominance that he had over everyone.
That's it.
I mean, and I want to.
And I'm okay if someone disagrees with me.
Yeah,
that's okay. I don't mind it. You can like who you want. I'm not doing this based upon who I like. I did a lot more George St. Pierre fights. I did a lot more, John Jones fights. I'm just being honest in the way I look at it. But if you look at it a different way, that's okay. But you cannot deny 29-0, never defeated, never had a guy that really even put him in trouble.
Yeah.
Who put him in trouble?
No one.
I guess Poirier with the guillotine choke. That was good.
That was close.
That was tight.
It was close. I mean, I don't think it was. He says it wasn't close, but he said it was tight.
Yeah.
He said it wasn't close. I mean, I guess for him though too, when you get a guillotine on him like that, he's like, I don't care if I fall to my back because he's pretty good at getting up off his back.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not, believe it or not, even though he's a good wrestler, he's good off of his back. He's good off of the ground, like him being on bottom as well. So I don't. When people say, like, "Oh, he almost got swept," he
put himself to his back against Gaethje to put the triangle on.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, as well as in that first round. At the end of the first round, he went for that triangle and he missed it. So he went to the
bicep slider, brought up plot if you want to go with it.
He couldn't get in. Time ran out, and we went on.
Shoulder thing.
Yeah, just the domination of it all. With John Jones, I think as far as he has changed a little bit since USADA's been around. The fights have gotten a lot closer, and I think some of that has to do with just confidence as well, like confidence in if he's the same guy himself. I think for guys that have been on steroids for a while, you see them mentally not be the same person.
Boss Root
does something to them.
Boss Root has got to be. He says anybody that needs to do that is mentally weak up here. He said that from the very beginning. I love Boss, and he comes up with sometimes he goes, "I'm just telling you, John. Anybody that needs to put that in their body, they're mentally weak up there." Yeah. He says, and so I have an advantage over them already.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. John had the whole thing with Izzy, because they've gone back and forth over Twitter. Mm-hmm. He admitted to hiding underneath the cage to avoid a test. And I can't say that, maybe it was, marijuana, but, they don't test for marijuana if it's not fight night, basically.
Okay.
Okay, that the window for USADA or any athletic commission to test for marijuana is the 24-hour window around the fight.
I didn't know
12 hours before, 12 hours after. That's your 24-hour window that they will test for marijuana, and you can only have so many nanograms in your system that they consider legal. Depends on where it's at. Everyone's got a little bit different more. But, off-site, 3 weeks before the fight, 8 weeks before the fight, you're getting tested. You could have the highest level of THC in your system they've ever seen. Nothing will be done. You can have it.
Fighters, you hear that? You guys hear that?
There you go. Start sparking it up.
No, I wanted to say, you guys, if you guys haven't watched our last show, we did the full breakdown for the Khabib and Gaethje fight, as well as the Cannonier and Whitaker fight. I want to thank you guys. You guys had a lot of positive comments in the comment section about the show, which is kind of nice.
You had positive comments because he cares.
Thank you. I want to say thank you. Good stuff, and I'm glad you guys tuned in. You guys turned out, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. Was there anything else?
No, man. Just thanks for watching. Talk to your friends. Have them subscribe. We're getting higher and higher with it. Give us thumbs up. Tell people about the podcast, because we love talking to you and bringing some of our insights into the game to you.
Also, tune in tomorrow night. Yep, tomorrow night. Tune in tomorrow. My days are all messed up here. Yeah. So tune in tomorrow night on CBS Sports. You guys watch the Bellator show. Douglas Lima, Gegard Mousasi. Also, the prelims will be fire. I'm telling you guys right now, there's a lot of good prelim fights.
Really good.
The level of competition is getting higher in Bellator. We just signed a ton of new killers that are some.
Got rid of a lot of people.
We got rid of a lot of people today. They brought the hatchet down on some people today.
It's all in the new mindset.
New mindset of what's going on at Bellator.
Better be a killer.
Hopefully you guys enjoy a lot of new talent that's got signed, a lot of good Russian fighters, a lot of good Dagestani fighters, a lot of good European fighters as well got brought into the mix. A couple Brazilian fighters got brought into the mix. And we just hope that we're going to continue to grow the promotion itself. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Tune into the prelims. Okay, and as well as I think you can watch the prelims on YouTube.
You can watch YouTube Bellator YouTube page.
YouTube Bellator prelims, and I think they're also on CBSSports.com. They're on there as well. But go to the YouTube and watch it there for the Bellator YouTube. Check out the prelims there, and then come to the CBS Sports for the main card. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. That shares our videos to everybody. And take our video clips as well and share those around. Post them on Twitter and tag us in them. We'd love to retweet them for you guys. Okay? We thank you guys. Have a good one.
Later.